Today it's September 24th, 2025, and we're going to go over the latest market update for Sarasota and Manatee County real estate, residential real estate. Now, this one is going to be just slightly longer than usual. Usually I try to keep them at, 3 to 5 minutes long, but we have a little bit more data this time around, which is actually nice to see that, because I'm a data guy. I really like that stuff. So let's just get into it. We're going to be tracking 5 key metrics that kind of shows where is the market going on a local level. You can't really look at the national level and everything you're hearing on the news. You have to go hyper local if this is where you're at and this is where you want to buy or sell. And by the way, my name is Maciek Zaremba. I am a real estate agent since 2004. I'm also an investor locally. I have numerous, rentals, and I manage some properties for others. So if you have any questions about real estate, give me a call. I work under Fathom Realty, and my number is 941-400-7084. Give me a text, whatever, and we can chat about your needs. All right, so the first one is the total closed sales. This one is very, very important. This just shows, generally speaking, are we do we have more sales or less sales than last year? And when RAISM, which is our local association, shows us these numbers, they go year over year showing us what happened. Now, I'm not too concerned year over year because I want to know what's happening right now. Because if you're a seller, you want to know, hey, is it better this month, or is it from last month, or is it worse? You're not really interested, is it better this year than last year? You probably weren't thinking about selling or buying last year. So let's go over this. Unfortunately, we had less sales, and the month before that we had less sales, and it just keeps going down how many sales we end up having. Now, this is actually due to multiple reasons contributing to that. The biggest one being lack of buyers, lack of buyer demand, right? The reality is that not many people feel very confident in the national economy. That's it. So they're not buying that much. Now, in July, we had 1,787 sales, which was the lowest number I've seen in a very long time. And in August, we had 1,738, which is a 2.8% decrease. I know it's not that many homes less that were sold, but it's significant enough. So if you're a seller, this market is getting worse for you. If you're a buyer, this doesn't tell you anything. Now let's go into our second metric, which is our median sales price. This is not the average. This is the median. This is important. I like the median because it kind of it takes the outliers out of the way. It takes away those like fire sales for $130,000 for a home, and takes away the $10 million properties out of this as well. So it just looks at the middle of all the sales. So take a look at this chart. Basically, Sarasota County went up, Manatee County went down. That's the bottom line. Now, were these significant changes? Well, in Manatee condos, it was. That was a pretty significant 9.9% lower median price. That's pretty significant, right? That doesn't mean that the value of your home went down or your condo went down at 9.9%. That just shows what the buyers are doing right now and what they're paying. Now, the interesting thing that I'm going to add this time that I usually don't talk about is how many cash buyers we've had. And usually we're right around 50% cash buyers. But here's what's interesting. For Sarasota County single family homes, we had 36.3% cash buyers. That's significantly less than usually. And that just means that people are opting to go for loans. Also, we have to look at the list price to sales price ratio. And unfortunately, in Sarasota County single family homes, it's 92.3%. That is not good. Usually it's like 97%, right? So if you're going to list your home at $100,000, which you shouldn't. There's nothing for that price. But anyway, if you're going to list it at $100,000, you should expect to get $92,300 for that home. And for Manatee County single family homes, it's actually a little worse than that. The total number of cash buyers ended up being 28.5%, which is almost half of the average of 50%. But thankfully, it's a 94.8% list price to sales price ratio. That probably has to do with the number of listings for sale and how people are negotiating and maybe Manatee County sellers are a little more reasonable with their pricing, not overpricing things. Because I know in Sarasota, people are a little more on the uppity up and think that their home is worth more than it actually is. I mean, most sellers are like that anyway. Now, townhomes and condos, totally different story. In Sarasota County, there was 61.9% that were cash purchases, and in Manatee County, it ended up being 54.5%. And the reason that these numbers are so much higher is because a lot of townhomes don't qualify for financing. Basically, FHA loans, forget about them. You know, it's really rare to find in our area a condo community that ends up being qualified and all the books being verified by FHA, the Federal Housing Authority, to give the loans for FHA loans. So there's just naturally a lot more cash buyers for the condos, which is why our average ends up being about 50% when you're looking at the whole market. But you know, obviously single family homes have a lot more financed purchases. Also, your list price to sales price ratio, Sarasota County for condos ended up being 88.5%. And in Manatee County, it ended up being 90.4%. And real quick, before we jump into the third metric, I just want to give you a quick pitch for 10 seconds. I also own a roofing company. So if you have a home here, or if you have a condo, if you have something, whatever, and you need a roof, or you need a roof repair, anything you need, just give us a call. Our number is different. It is 941-278-ROOF. And we're West Coast Florida Roofing. And now let's get into our third metric. This is the inventory, the months of supply. Now this kind of has nothing to do with how many sales or anything like that. It just shows how many people have their home listed for sale. And then compared to how many buyers there are out there. And if all the buyers were to just keep buying and no new listings hit the market, how long would it take for all of the homes that are on the market right now to sell? Well, let's take a look at this chart, and we actually have a lot of improvement. So basically what it's showing is that for the single family homes in both Sarasota and Manatee County, we're in a seller's market. We have less than 5.5 or 6 months of inventory. But for the condos, we're obviously in a buyer's market, which is why the prices keep going down. The median prices keep going down on that. All right, next metric is our listing days to contract. So from the moment you list to the moment you are under contract, not sold, how long does it take? And unfortunately, look at this chart. It is taking longer than it did last month. But you know, we're finally starting to kind of even out these numbers. We're not consistently going up or down. We're just kind of teeter-tottering back and forth with these numbers right here. As you can tell, you know, it's going to take you at best 53 days in the condo market, in the single family home market in Manatee County. And at worst, it's going to be 87 days for the Sarasota condos. Also, you can take a look and you can see that the single family homes sit less time, you know, on the market as active properties than the condos do, which is once again normal. We're going through a big transition with condos right now due to, you know, Senate Bill 154, and you know, we've had, and the HB4 or HB1, I forget exactly, but basically had some laws that changed, and it ended up impacting the condos in the entire state of Florida quite significantly. So we have one more metric to take a look at. Here it is. It is the active listings at the end of the month. This number has been going up and up and up. And in the last 3 to 4 months, we finally started pulling back. So this is good in a sense, because it always depends if you're a buyer or a seller. And in this case, we ended up going down to less than 10,000 listings at the end of the month. Now, we were at 10,050 at the end of July, and at the end of August we were at 9,399. That ended up being 6.7% less listings on the market. So if you're a seller, just know you have less competition. If you're a buyer, know that you have less options to pick from, less homes to pick from. And now if you think about this, there might be a correlation to the total number of sales, right? Because if you have less and less inventory to pick from, then some of the picky buyers are going to wait, and they're not going to just settle for something. So they're going to wait until something better comes on the market that suits their needs, whatever it is, for the price that they're shopping at, right? And if you have less and less homes, 6.7% less homes this month compared to the month before that, well, you know, you got to look at it from the buyer's perspective. Maybe I won't buy. And then next thing you know, we have less sales, because that's exactly what happened. We had less sales. So, you know, it is all kind of affecting each other. And I think that next market report is actually going to be a little bit worse than this one, but then it's going to get better. That's my prediction. And the reason I say that is because, and I don't predict anything, okay? This is just what I'm speculating. So the reason I say that is because we just had interest rates drop by 0.25%. We're expecting another drop in October and another drop in November. So if all of those drops happen, first quarter of 2026, it's going to be a lot of sales, less inventory. Prices are probably going to stay solidly strong or go up. Let me know if you have any questions. 941-888-SOLD, and you can text me at 941-400-7084.